All right. Well, welcome back, everyone. We have kept the ball rolling, and we're really excited about our second presentation. We have Ammar Hanna and Henry Liang, who are going to talk to us about the field of engineering. Just a reminder, we ask that you save those questions for the end of the presentation. There will be a Q&A option. There should be a Q&A option where you can input your questions. And so, yeah, just feel free to ask questions that way at the end of the presentations. And thank you both for being here. Our students are super eager to hear from you, and I want to give you guys all the time that you deserve. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to you. Thank you again for being here.
No problem. Thanks, Jonathan.
Yeah.
And good morning, everyone. My name is Henry Liang. I'm a principal with MKN Associates. We're a consulting engineering firm that specializes in water resources. So you may be wondering what that entails, and that is what we're going to be talking about later. And I'm joined with my colleague Ammar. Ammar, you want to introduce yourself?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Ammar, and I am an assistant engineer with MKN Associates, and I work along with Henry Liang in our Fresno office.
Great. All right. So yeah, we're going to be talking about civil engineering and hopefully give you guys a taste of what civil engineering is all about, and hopefully want to consider it as a major when you go into college. So Mar, you want to jump to the next slide, please? Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is Ammar is actually going to talk a little bit about how you can succeed in college, because he graduated a couple of years ago from Fresno State, and I have to brag, he was a 4.0 student. So he obviously knows how to succeed in college, and we're happy to have him as part of the MKN team. And then between Ammar and I, we're both going to talk about what civil engineering is. Since we focus on water resources, I'm going to talk about water resources engineering. And then Ammar will also talk about structural and transportation engineering. So you guys will have a good feel of what civil engineering is all about. And MKN is on social media. We have our website, mknassociates.us. We're also on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and now TikTok. So definitely look for us and feel free to learn more about engineering through our social media channels.
Awesome. Thank you, Henry. I appreciate your words. Yes, some of the things we're going to talk about is how to prepare for college. A lot of you are, close to graduating high school and you're looking into your options. So take your time. Do not waste your time, though. A lot of times we might overthink things and end up, wasting time that we could be using for other things. Take your time, think about things, just make sure that you're managing it well. Start planning early. It's never too early to apply for those scholarships, grants, loans, financial aid. All these things are come in handy once you start actually want to apply for colleges, or when you're ready to sign up for classes. And ask questions. Never be ashamed to not know something. Nobody just knows everything, right? So ask those questions, whether it's for at your high school counselor, when you're reaching out to colleges, give them a call, give them an email. A lot of times these counselors are overwhelmed with a lot of students, so you want to try to reach out maybe once, twice until they get back to you. Same thing when you're applying for grants and scholarships as well. All right, how to succeed in college? Be involved. You always want to make sure that you're involved, whether it's with clubs at the college that you're going to. For example, if you're going into engineering, there's American Society of Civil Engineers, students organization. There's a lot of whatever field you're going in college, there should be student clubs that you could join and be involved early on in your career, college career. Build a roadmap. It's always good to meet with your counselors. They will probably have a set time for you, maybe twice a semester. But if you feel the need that you actually are not sure about your classes, about the way you're going, about your degree, shoot them an email, give them a call, ask to meet with them more often if you need to. be involved again in the professional clubs. That's what we talked about initially. Stay on top of it. It's once you start slacking, it and becomes a habit. It just gets easier for you to slack off on your workload. So just don't make that a habit, because it'll just accumulate, and the more you wait on it, the harder it becomes to get back on top of it. And we're actually gonna do a Kahoot quiz. So I'm gonna go ahead and start it, and let me do this so you guys can join it. And then we're gonna be asking the questions as we go, and just stay connected to the Kahoot. That way you could answer as many questions as you can, and hopefully get the chance to win a $20 gift card, Amazon gift card. And
What I'll do is I'll put in the chat for our students, I'll put the Kahoot link so that they can go ahead and access it.
yeah, it's actually, if they go to kahoot.it, if you want to do that, it's just kahoot.it, and then I will give you the pin, and then they could just join it. So you guys can see the screen right now, the Kahoot screen. Okay, good. So if you go to Kahoot, that's KAHOOT.it, and then just input that game pin, and we should be good to go.
So Ammar, we'll give them a couple minutes to join.
Yeah, so I see one so far. Okay, 2 people. Is anybody having trouble connecting to it, or?
Let me see, I've directly chatted with the students to see if, I sent them the link.
What we could do, Ammar, is we'll just, when we bring up the next question, we'll just bring it up again. Or is it once we start, can people not join later?
I think once you actually I could keep it unlocked, and they could join.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. All right, so it's gonna roll the first question. Can you be successful in college? And you just let it right in. So it is definitely all of the above. So like we talked about, we want to do all these good things while we're preparing for the college career. And let's continue our presentation. And there's a little video about civil engineering that we could play. It's about a minute. Can you guys hear it? Is the voice also shared?
We can't hear it, Ammar. You'll have to share your audio.
Okay, what about now? Is that still a no? Okay. We could
Yeah.
go ahead and roll to the next slide so we're not wasting time, because we're going to talk about these anyway in details in the slides. It was just like a nice video to play, but we're gonna still talk about it in the slides, so we're not wasting time here. All right, so we got 5 main branches of civil engineering, and those branches are water resource engineering, structural engineering, transportation engineering, environmental, and geotechnical. And today we're gonna focus on, I think, 3 of them, water, structural, and transportation in the next 2 slides. And here, let's roll the next question in the Kahoot quiz. All right, we got somebody in first place. The second question is, which of the following is not a branch of civil engineering?
Remember, if anyone wants to join, you can still join by
just put the
entering the game pin.
pin number. Yeah, I'm gonna send that pin to the chat just. Right. Okay.
Right. So one answer correct. Mechanical engineering is not civil engineering. It's a separate field, separate discipline.
And I think the next slide is going to be about water engineers. Henry, would you like to?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes. So water engineers are engineers that really deal with anything that's related to our water infrastructure. And what that means is drinking water. You know, when you turn on your faucets at home, the water comes out and usually it's safe to drink, right? And there's a lot that goes into getting that water to you and treating that water before you even open your faucets. So civil engineers that deal with water resources are involved in making sure the infrastructure is in place to provide that to you. Wastewater treatment is also something we deal with. So when you flush your toilets or when your water goes down your drains and you're seeing some showers, that water has to get collected and treated before it can be disposed of properly. And wastewater treatment is another field that water engineers deal with. There's also stormwater collection systems. So as all of us know, in California right now, there's tons of flooding going on, and that flooding has to be managed. Otherwise, we would be experiencing a lot more flooding. And the way that that's managed is through stormwater collection systems. And the stormwater collection systems have to be designed to be able to handle stormwater. And there's also master planning and groundwater balancing, which is basically making sure that our water supply that we pump from the ground is sustainable. And there's also construction management. So when we design facilities, these facilities get constructed, and there usually has to be construction managers that help make sure the project is constructed successfully. Next slide, Ammar. So I'm going to go through the water life cycle, and this will give you a much more in-depth understanding of where water comes from and where it goes after it's consumed. Next slide, Ammar. So the water life cycle starts as rain in the mountains, and the way that stormwater is captured in the mountains is it's usually captured in some type of reservoir. So those of you in Central California, you're probably familiar with Friant Dam at Millerton Lake. So that's a perfect example of a reservoir that has a dam that's used to capture and store rainwater. So once it's captured in the reservoir or the lake, it's then released through various means, whether it's canals or rivers or pipelines. That water is then released and sent into a city's pump station or treatment plant. So that raw water that's coming from Millerton Lake or any reservoir throughout the state, that water then gets treated at a water treatment plant, because you can't just drink lake water, right? It's surface water that is not safe to drink. But once it's treated, then it is safe. So it goes through a treatment plant that has multiple processes to make sure that that water is safe to drink. So once it's delivered from the treatment plant, it then gets distributed into the distribution system. And usually your water system is going to have storage tanks to help store the water, because the way that we use water, we only use water at certain times of the day the most, right? Like, for instance, in the mornings when we wake up, most people will shower and get ready and have breakfast. And then usually in the evenings, there's also another peak because people are at home having their dinners, washing their food, washing their hands. So there's usually another peak in the evenings. Those peaks are managed by having storage, because we need to have water available at all times, right? So there's usually storage tanks that store the water. And then from storage tanks, they then get distributed into the system, which is our houses, our offices, our schools. When we use water in our homes, in our workplaces, we're basically taking water directly from the distribution system. And then once we use the water, then the water becomes wastewater. It goes into our drains. It goes into our toilets, and from that piece of it, it then goes into the wastewater collection system side. So Ammar, can you advance the slide? Yeah. So now we're on the wastewater collection system side. So once the water is used, the collection system will then collect the wastewater, and it's a separate set of pipes, because obviously we can't mix the potable clean water with the dirty wastewater. So the wastewater will then get collected and conveyed to a wastewater treatment plant. And the wastewater treatment plant is necessary because most of the time wastewater has to be treated before it can just be discharged. And there's a lot of different ways it can be discharged. It can be discharged just back into the ground. The cities next to the ocean, there's discharges into the ocean. There's a variety of ways wastewater can be discharged, but usually, depending on how it's being discharged, it has to be treated to certain levels to make sure that our oceans are safe, our groundwater is safe. It needs to be treated to be able to be disposed of safely. And sometimes, especially now, our wastewater is treated and then it's reused. And we're not quite at the point where it can be reused for drinking water, but it can be reused for irrigation and landscape irrigation and other uses that are not directly consumed. So throughout this entire water life cycle, every step of the way, there's significant infrastructure behind each of these steps. And civil engineers are the ones that have to plan and design this infrastructure to make sure everything works properly, to make sure that when people need water in their homes, that the water is available and it's safe to drink, and there's somewhere for the water to go once we use it. So that's all part of water resources engineering. And this graphic really shows the entire life cycle.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Henry. And on that, we're going to have two Kahoot questions. And the first question is coming up next. All right, still have the same person. All right, which of the following do water engineers not do? So it's structural plans. That's what water engineers usually would not work on. Okay, next question. It's a multi-select question, so you could select more than one answer. The water you drink comes from. So where does the water that we drink comes from? Right on. Okay.
Mara,
So
we
let's
do
see
have
what.
we do have a student who raised their hand.
Oh yeah, please.
I want to just see if they're having issues with the Kahoot, or I
Sure.
just want to. Is it okay if we just pause and
Yeah,
answer
yeah,
questions for the
absolutely.
end?
Okay. So really any of these answers would have been the right answer. So whichever one of these you answered, uh, you would have gotten a point for it. All right. Now let's continue with the slides, and now we're gonna talk a little bit about structural engineering and what do structural engineers do. Some of the main things that structural engineers are responsible for is performing structural calculations. All these big buildings that you see, the skyscrapers you see in New York, these are all designed by structural engineers, and all these bridges, right? The Golden Gate here in California, one of the most famous structures out there. Those are worked on by structural civil engineers. They also test and evaluate building materials, right? They want to make sure that the materials that you're using to build your structures are durable. They want to make sure that these structures can withstand natural disasters like earthquake, storms, any kind of natural force that could actually affect the integrity of these structures, right? Because especially in California, we have a lot of earthquakes, for example. So that's like one big component that structural engineers worry about. An example project is the SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California. So this is like a very impressive structure. The project elements is surveying. So this entire big area is where the city's this structure was built on. There's definitely had to be some surveying of the area, what the soil is like, can it be built there, right? Geotechnical engineers, like we said, the soil, they want to make sure that it could withstand such a big structure that comes with all the heavy materials that are being built of metal and concrete. Gradient and drainage, again, back to the same idea of a big structure, right? It's going to collect a lot of stormwater. When it rains, where is that water going to drain to? Is it going to flood some places? Is it not? Electrical engineering, also, this is not a civil engineering aspect of it, but electrical engineers do play a big role in this, right? Especially with all the screens that you see there, all the lighting, keeping the structural safe. Mechanical engineers, what mechanical engineers play in this in such a big structure is that you want to make sure that your air is flowing right. You want to make sure that this stadium doesn't get too hot or too cold. It can handle all of these people, right? So these are all the different parts that different engineers play in such a design. Let's also do another Kahoot question now about structural engineering. It'll be actually two questions. And the first one is going to be, this is just like general knowledge. So let's, just a fun question. It's not civil engineering related. So we got one person that participated in this one, and they got the right question, the right answer. All right, the next question is structural engineers work on. So one of these things do structural engineers actually work on? Your right answers. Okay, now we're going to talk a little bit about the transportation engineering, which is the last emphasis that we're going to talk about today of the of the civil engineering field. Transportation engineers, what do they work on? They study and analyze traffic movement. So all these cars that you see stopping at stoplight, all these cars flowing through roundabouts, they've been analyzed at some point before these intersections are built, right? They've been modeled to see if these intersections can fit them, if these lanes are wide enough. They design streets and roads and highways. We want to make sure that our streets have the capability of handling that many cars, correct? We want to make sure that when all these people are going to work in the morning, they're not overcrowding the streets to where it can't handle them. Work on pavement design and analysis. You want to make sure that your pavements are built to be able to withstand the weight of big trucks, right? In other states, for example, they suffer from the problem of freezing, and when the structurals freeze and they melt again in the morning, for example, that could affect the integrity of the asphalt, for example. So that's one thing they work on. Innovate new transportation technologies. Now with the technologies of like self-driving cars and automated cars, we obviously want to have a transportation system that can accommodate them. In the future, the car will be able to communicate with each other on the road. They're going to be able to read traffic lights, right? So all this is what transportation engineers work on. They innovate new ways that could keep our transportation system up with the new technologies that are developing in the world. An example of projects is the California high-speed rail. This is what you see being built across the 99, all these bridges. A lot of them are related to the high-speed rail 30 project. This is like an example map of where this system initially is gonna transport people from and to. It's all the way from San Francisco down to Los Angeles. It's gonna save people a lot of time, commute times. This is another picture of what it would eventually look like. Another example of what transportation engineers work on is roundabouts. For example, this is very local, just in our own backyard. It's by Fresno State at Campus Point. They've been built these roundabouts, and this is something that was designed by transportation engineers. What's the idea behind them? They're pedestrian friendly. They improve traffic circulation because cars are not stopping as often. If it's clear, they'll just keep going, flowing through the roundabout. Fewer vehicle conflict points because vehicles are not stopping at a stoplight. There's technically lesser of a chance that a crash would happen. That's another one. Those are two different roundabouts that you could see by Fresno State if you drive by that area. Let's do another two Kahoot quizzes, and those are going to be transportation engineering related. And the first question. All right. So we got 5 people participating so far. Roundabouts reduce car crashes. Why? We got 2 correct answers. Have fewer car conflict points. That's correct. All right, next question. It's a multi-select, so you can select more than one answer. Hopefully it's not a tricky question. Got 0 answers so far. Should be an easy one. All right, there we go. All right. We got 3 answers, and yep. Oh, we get more. Okay, that's good. All right, I think that would bring us to the final slide, which is just a you guys have any questions. Thank you so much for listening. We appreciate all of you. Appreciate you for participating in the Kahoot quiz, and we'll open it for questions. And Henry, if you want to add anything.
Now let's open it up to questions.
Thank you both so much. Students, go ahead and put in the Q&A if you have any questions. Thank you both so much for sharing. This is so interesting. I know the panelists, we always have a ton of questions, but I want to go ahead and open it up to see if our students have any questions. Anyone?
I really look forward to this one because I remember it from last year, you guys coming last year as well, and just really appreciate coming back.
Of course, no, we're happy to do it and happy to try to promote the profession of civil engineering.
What would you say? I don't mind getting the ball rolling. Your both of your favorite part of the job and least favorite part of the job would be. What would you say?
I'll start. So my favorite part of the job is working with our clients because since we're a consulting engineering firm, most of our projects are for our clients, and being able to help them solve their problems, which are usually very complicated. And then when the project goes well and we're able to deliver a successful project for them, help them with a treatment plant or help them design a pipeline, whatever it may be, being able to see the finished project constructed and in operation is always my favorite part. My least favorite part is when we do all that, but then we find that they try to start it up and it doesn't work. And there's a major issue with our design. That's my least favorite part because, with our designs, there's also a lot of risk of things not working well or an issue during construction. So that's my least favorite part, but hopefully we can avoid that or minimize that and just be able to deliver successful projects.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks, Henry. For me, the most favorite part probably gonna be very similar to what Henry said, but making a difference really. I mean, you were, for example, design wastewater treatment plant, right? You're actually making sure that the water that's being put back into the ground is clean, right? It's not polluting our groundwater. And especially in California, you do feel the difference in the work that you do because we have been in a state of drought for a long time, and our groundwater table elevation is just not very healthy right now. So doing the work to kind of make sure that California stays have water in the future, and knowing that the future generations are not going to suffer what we have suffered for a while, and hopefully it's not going to continue to be a problem. So making a difference, I think that's a big part of why I like it. The least favorite part is like what Henry said, when things don't go as planned, or if a project doesn't really get approved, for example, or for example, if you're trying to build a wastewater treatment plant or improve it, and obstacles happen. This field is actually also dependent on somehow on politics sometimes, right? And funding and what funds are available by the state or by private. So yeah, I think it's pretty much summarized for me.
We have actually four student questions. So we have a few more minutes, so we'll just jump right into them. So this student asked, is civil engineering a hard job to get?
It is not, relatively speaking. So there's a very big shortage in civil engineering students right now, and there's a very high demand for civil engineering students. So it's a profession that's very easy to get a job, and it is difficult to get your civil engineering degree. It's a 4-year university, 4 or 5-year program, and Fresno State, most of the UCs all have civil engineering programs. but it is an easy job where the profession is so strong right now that it is an easy job or easy profession to find a job.
Excuse me. And then the second question was, is your job stressful? Do you consider your job stressful?
Ammar, you want to tackle that question?
Yeah. I mean, it could be at times. It's definitely not a stress-free job, but it's just it's the environment that you're surrounded with, right? Really, that will help you kind of accommodate the stress, and it's when you're in a positive environment. I mean, the stress is there really in any job that you pick, whether you're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, or just a construction worker. Pick your own. Whatever it is, it's the stress is there. It's really the environment that you're in that can help mitigate that.
Okay. And then the other question we have is, what is the salary of the career? And they want to know, what's the salary of the career? I'd imagine, so when I talk to students about salaries, that entry point, obviously, like someone who's just starting out in the field is different than someone who's been there
Yeah.
15 years, 20 years.
Right.
A typical new grad out of college would start around 60 to 70,000 a year, depending on where you're located. But that would be a good, typical range of starting entry level salaries.
Okay. And then we have another question. How did you get into the field of civil engineering? So a little bit about what led you to civil engineering.
For me, I think it was loving the idea of design. Really, this is what civil engineering is about in general. Just design, and the word design just means that you got to try multiple approaches. It's not like a one shoe fits all, right? It's just you have to try. It's trial and an error. So just loving the idea and being able to actually apply it in real life, and I think that's what really led me into the field of civil engineering.
Another question is, how often do you use math, and what kind of math do you use?
We use math just about every day, and most of the day-to-day stuff, the math is fairly straightforward. It's maybe algebra and some calculus, but most of the time it's just algebra, or it's just simple addition, subtraction using spreadsheets. Most of the time our calculations are not too complicated. If you get into structural engineering, that's where it gets a little bit more complicated. But usually we have computer software now that will help perform the calculations. But to get through an engineering school and getting your engineering degree, you do have to take some pretty advanced math to be able to get your degree. But once you're in the profession, most of the math we do every day is not highly complicated math.
Okay. And then the last question that we have, students want to know, who won the Kahoot?
More?
We need to know that, huh? All right, let's see. All right, so we got third place, second place. I think there you go. All right.
All
Okay,
right.
so what we're going to do, though, because WAC Boys had technical difficulties, we're going to give a $10 certificate to each. So if Kid and WAC Boys can send your email address to Jonathan, we'd be happy to send you each a $10 Amazon gift card.
And I'll go ahead, I'll put in the chat, I'll share my email address. Go ahead and do that right now. So it's jonathan.kios@centralvcs.org. So go ahead and shoot me your email, and then just tell me if you were Kid or Wag Boys. So, well, thank you both so much. This was awesome. We really enjoyed, you taking time out of your busy schedule today and sharing with us. Is it okay if some of our students have follow-up questions about the field that we maybe collect the questions and send you guys email with those questions if that's the case. Is that okay?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we'd love
absolutely.
to answer questions after the fact as well. So feel free to email us and we'll answer what we can.
All right. Well, thank
Absolutely.
you again. We really appreciate it. Audience, students, we have more exciting speakers today. We have coming up, let's see, it'll be 11 o'clock. We will have someone who's going to be talking about financial literacy. So check the career fair page. And that concludes our presentation today. We'll see you all at the next one.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.